All right, so let's talk about the spike blood a little bit. And some of this I may have addressed before. Basically, got to give a ton of credit to Cecil Middleton, who's deceased. He was a fine example of a human being and a good man himself. Played some football at the University of South Carolina and was right much of a man's man himself. And he was kind of in a snake's den down there in South Carolina where some of the dog guys would do anything to come out on top. And they didn't honor a whole lot of the code, but he still managed to prevail. But he had a lot of faith in the Eli dogs, and he went down to Texas, down to Holt's place, Raymond Holt, and the Sherry bitch had a litter down there, and they were young, and according to Cecil, they were basically living in a hole in the ground. And, all it was going to take was a big Texas rain, and they would all drown. So Cecil saw a black female in there that struck his fancy, and he brought her back, and that was Black Betty. And I believe if you actually calculated everything that she produced in terms of title dogs, I believe she would very likely be the #1 registered merit bitch of all time. You know, she had Grand Champion Spike, Grand Champion Face, and a bunch of champions.
Cecil Middleton's Black Betty.
Yeah. She was heavy in the Eli blood, and it was put together beautifully. The best Eli blood has a shot of Bose in it, and that her pedigree had a shot of Bose back at the beginning. Bose to Brandy, if I remember correctly. You want to show
Bunch of
them?
inbred Eli dogs.
Yeah.
Punch in which one?
Middleton's Black Betty.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll get it up on here so I can
Yeah.
turn it sideways.
So anyway,
You want to look at it on here? Okay.
we'll let Brad present it here in a minute. At any rate, Cecil had seen the Snooty dog hunt and had a lot of confidence in him and knew him to be a game dog. So he wanted to breed Black Betty whenever she got old enough. Wanted to breed those two together and did, and produced the Spike dog and several other good dogs. Spike had a storied career that included contests against Harry Hargroves, and Harry just kept coming back and kept being disappointed, and he had an outstanding career, so we'll say. But anyway, I acquired Spike and produced on a fantastic level for me. I think the best breeding that I did with him was whenever I bred to Miss Molly, who was off of Chinaman's brother, champion boy, bred back to his mother, Molly. And every time I bred Spike to Miss Molly, which was several times, we got high caliber producers, including my little gator dog that produced all those good rancherita dogs out in northwest Mexico, southwest California. Just legendary. Number one producer, I would say, that was ever in that area. Yeah, we've put good Spike dogs all over the world, and that's one of the most respected pit bull gene pools that there ever has been. What we have today was from frozen semen from Spike, and that produced a dog, a couple of studs, and several super nice bitches that produced well for me. And Vinny, my friend Vinny Romeo, got one of them and did an outstanding job breeding her. Got a lot of good dogs. The two studs that I kept out of Spike from that frozen semen breeding, Santos and Sluggo. There was a time here in North Carolina that it was proposed, strongly proposed, to make pit bulls illegal here in North Carolina. So, not to be the one who flies an airplane into the side of the mountain whenever there's an alternative, I created Plan B. I set up a kennel in Mexico and took more than half my dogs there just to have a safe place to keep them so they wouldn't get caught up in some pit bull inquisition created by people who know nothing about a pit bull. So anyway, Sluggo went out there. It was a coin toss as to which one stayed here and which one went here. And Sluggo went out there. Didn't end up getting bred as much because I didn't have him at my arm's reach. Santos stayed here. There's a lot of good dogs. There's a lot of Santos fans, and there's a lot of Sluggo fans too. People who have those dogs are just really, really proud of them.
What a difficult decision.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you know that you're going to do the best with the breeding, but on your side, like, this dog could be taken away from you at any time.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you can't 100% trust, even if there's trustworthy people where you send a dog, it's not you, so you can't 100% trust that situation.
Yeah. I had a lot of trouble obtaining quality help in my Mexican kennel adventures. It was incredibly frustrating for me. I would find people who were known to be hard workers, pay them 3 times as much as they've ever made before in their life, and they couldn't do the basics. It's because in their hearts they didn't give a damn about an animal. Okay, sometimes it's just you putting yourself in the place of the animal that makes you get off your ass and go do something for the animal.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed time and time again. I'm glad I didn't end up killing anybody over that. That's how strongly I feel about it. But anyway, the day I brought my last dog back from Mexico was a good day. But the point I'm getting around to is, out of Spike's litter, created by Cecil, there was a dog named Bat. Bat was a tan-colored dog, and he was a very high-caliber dog. He was not like Spike. Spike was a go through it and kind of come out the other side kind of dog. Bat had a lot more finesse. And Brewer always used to say that if there ever was a dog that would have a chance to beat Spike, it would have been Bat. Bat won 2 hog hunts, and then there was a South African that was in touch with Atlas Brewer, and he came over from South Africa. His name was Murray Jurgens, and bought Bat. Took him back to South Africa, and I believe he earned his championship over there. I believe that's correct. If it's not correct, somebody will point it out. But before he left, he was bred, and there was an Alexander fella up in Maryland, I think, that got one of his offspring that was extraordinary. Batman's what he called him. He won multiple hog hunts. But the point that I'm getting around to is, Bat was a beautiful tan-colored dog. He was lighter than buckskin. He was exactly like my Santos dog. And the same fellow that used to try to spread his created rumor that Amos was off a rascal is fond of telling the band of idiots that follow him that there's no way that Santos could be off of Spike because Spike was red. Santos is tan. But apparently in his blissful ignorance, he's not aware that Spike's brother was the clone of Santos. Exactly the same color, same build, same type of animal. But just for viewers out there fond of repeating the bullshit that's spouted by this guy that I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, that's how far you have to look, and that's how far the guy you listened to didn't look before making his cannabis-inspired fantasies public. So,
unfortunately, there's a lot of people talking and having opinions that don't have an understanding, and a lot of people with an understanding that aren't talking enough, because I don't know, for whatever reason, it seems like if you have an understanding, you don't feel the need to, and if you don't, you just feel the need to talk a lot.
well, for a lot of people, the only way they can get the attention that they desperately crave in life is by being outrageous.
Yeah.
And the honorable way to get attention is to be right.
Yeah.
To do something constructive, to do something useful, do something good, instead of just stirring up conflict.
We talk a lot about the go-through-ems and the slick ones. So in this instance, you have this bat dog and the spike dog. Do you have any preference? Because we talked about it with the like Rondo dog and the Bush Hog dog and the like He-Man dog and the Viking dog, and we have this. It seems like brothers have this. I wonder also, like, just a side note, you and your brother. How would you classify you and your brother?
Well,
and then we'll get to preferences. Your brother's a great guy. So Mickey is a great guy.
Yeah, and a lot of ways he's a better human being than I am. So I'd go a long ways before I'd say anything critical of him. I will say that in regards to how we were breaking things down, whenever we were young, we would wrestle a lot. But then one day, we were visiting, and my brother, his name's Mike, I call him Mickey. He was in the back seat of the car, and I was in the front seat, and we were bickering about something. And I turned around about the time I did. He popped me under the eye with a punch. It's the first time either one of us ever punched the other one. And that just kind of shocked me, because A, it's my brother, and B, I've never been punched in the face before with a good hard punch. It's it's kind of an eye-opening experience, or eye-closing experience.
I can remember it too, and I'd like to think I was tough in that moment, but it's the same. You're just kind of, what the fuck just happened?
There was a little voice that in the back of my head that was looking for my mom. I mean, that voice finally got shut up out the back door. But at that moment, it was still around. But anyway, the way that thing evolved is, it turns out over time that he had a really good right hook, and he threw it with authority. And what I had to do in order to have any self-respect and to have a way of coping with his good right hook was I had to develop an even better left jab. So I learned how, whenever I saw that this hook about to be launched, I had to just step in, get my head behind my shoulder, and fire that jab inside of his hook.
So you're the finesse.
I had to be. Yeah, I had to be. I had no choice. So, there was several years there that I had a black left eye. So much of the time that I thought it was a birth defect, that I was born with it, could never get better. In my defense, he was 10 and a half months older than me. But it was probably the best, having him in my life was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to dig deep.
He was 10 and a half months older than you?
Yeah.
So you're Irish twins?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my sister are Irish twins. So.
Obviously, I was an accident. But yeah, I mean, I had to be game in order to have self-respect. I had to be willing to take an extra measure of punishment, and at some point you just get tired of being afraid of getting hurt and get to the point where you about halfway enjoy it. It's proof of life, you know? So
The alternative is worse than
Yeah.
the pain.
having no self-respect
Yeah.
that's jump off the bridge material.
Yeah.
And having a black eye, after you look at it a couple times, it's a joke. You know? So anyway, he's my best friend in the world, and I have no doubt he'd give his life for me, and I'd certainly do that for him. He's always been there for me, and great human being.
He'd give weeks for you, 12 hours a day, no questions asked. He ate a pack of cheese crackers for lunch every day and worked 12 straight hours. I never saw him do anything but sit down for 10 minutes to eat a pack of cheese crackers in a 12-hour day.
Yeah, well, that's him. He's a good guy. He's a tough guy.
Yeah.
Genetics.
To fill in for the viewers, that's my brother Mike, 10.5 months older than I am. 3 springs ago, we made a decision to redo the hillside out here on Bulldog Hill and add 40 to 50 more pins. We had some pins that were not up to spec, and yeah, when you putting pins on the hillside, you know, you got to make level pads, level areas, and you got to do a little ditching around those pads so that water from one pen doesn't run into another pen and bring whatever parasites might exist in one pen. Everybody ends up with all the parasites that one dog has if you're not careful. So my brother's a really good excavator operator. Done quite a bit of that work in his life, and so he ran the mini excavator and made a useless sloping hillside, made it appropriate for adding bunches of new pins, and he led the way. He was up at daylight every day and worked till dark every night, and insisted on not being paid. Yeah, that's
There he is going to town.
Yeah, that's great.
And he had so many interesting ways to just manage situations. It's just like
He's a real problem solver.
he had here's another example of him solving a problem. Never seen nothing like this ever. He was like, "Oh, there's a problem. Let's just tie a chain around it."
Yeah. That excavator was not the one that we have now, but it's the one that we did most of the work with. I ultimately bought a new one. But at any rate, he ultimately did get compensated, I'm happy to say, but I just about had to hold him down to get him to accept any kind of payment. So.
Yeah, tracks were coming off of it, and he was like, just figuring out any way to get a track back on it.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes the tracks come off of those mini excavators and you have to make adjustments and do a little repair work, and we had some interesting blocks of time dedicated to that. All right, so I've addressed the Santos being the wrong color to be a spike offspring.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I've addressed the Amos being off of Rascal. Remember why it's absolutely not true and doesn't make any sense, and all the pure, clear evidence that it's not true.